happy bubbles. Hi, and welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and the show is going to the dogs. Actually, we are going to be talking about pets, dogs and cats and chinchillas or whatever you happen to have for a pet. And we're going to talk about the holidays that we are currently in, that are coming up, and it's a busy time of year. But before you meet my wonderful guest or guests for this evening, I would like to invite you to email me at talk@bcattv.org if you have any questions for my wonderful guest, or if you have any questions or comments or suggestions for future topics for me, because we are not live this evening, so you will not be able to call me tonight. But that's okay, that's what email is for. As always, I would like to thank the crew for this evening. Because we are recording, we do not have Chris Flaherty, but we have Tad Stefanak, who is also a trooper and makes sure that the station keeps running and makes sure all of us volunteers behave ourselves. So thank you, Tad. We also have Colleen Moore and Liz Gillespie, who give up their evenings always to come and help me out here, and I pay them with cookies. Last but definitely not least, I would like to thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night. Hopefully the homework is done and the children are behaving themselves. Business is all done. Now I would like to introduce my wonderful guest for this evening. Well, Wendi Dellemonico,
yes,
who is the owner and coordinator, resident expert for A Better Way Pet Service, Petsitting Service. Petsitting Service,
yes.
Okay. And your buddy Toby.
Yep, this is Toby.
Well, thank you for coming on. And because it's a crazy time of year, I know that at least my pets are creatures of habit.
Yes.
So I would like to go into a little more detail about how we can better take care of our animals around this crazy time of year.
Sure.
But before we get into our furry guest, could you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington area, and what made you decide to start your own pet sitting service?
Sure. So I grew up in Brookline.
Okay. Not very far away.
Not too far, until I was about 13. Then I moved to Framingham. And I wound up in Burlington because I met my husband on a blind date. And
see, blind dates can work.
Yes, and he was born in Burlington.
Oh, okay.
His mom still lives in Burlington, and so we decided it was a great place to raise a family. So we bought a house in Burlington. Yep, and that's what we did. So
excellent.
That's how we ended up here.
And why the pet sitting service?
So I'd always worked in healthcare recruiting. When I got out of college, I did a lot of nursing placement type work for temporary agencies and permanent staffing agencies. And at one point, I was laid off, and my kids were still young, between 8 and 9 and 13.
Okay. Yeah,
and I'd always wanted to start a business. So,
wow, that's brave.
Yes. So I spent about 9 months researching different types of businesses, and I decided I was going to start an errand and concierge service. And pet sitting was going to be one of the duties.
Okay.
Little did I know, if I had known then that pet sitting could have been its own business, that would have been my business.
Well, who knew? Yeah.
But I didn't know then, and so that part of the business just took off.
Oh, wow.
Right away. I was getting the calls for pet sitting more than the errand service.
Okay.
So over about a year, I said, you know what, let's just make this all about pets. I'd loved pets my whole life, and just it was my calling. So that's what I turned it into.
So mostly dogs and cats, I'm assuming.
Mostly dogs and cats, but we also take care of rabbits. We take care of turtles, birds, all kinds of caged animals, gerbils, hamsters, things like that.
Probably not like horses.
We don't do horses. We do backyard chickens. A lot of people, believe it or not, have chickens.
Okay.
So we do chickens as well. But the majority is dogs and cats.
Okay. Now, as I mentioned, we are getting ready for the holiday.
Yes.
So what kind of considerations? My husband reminded me when I was on my way over here, he's like, no poinsettias.
Right.
So let's start with decorations. What are the things that you should consider when decorating your house for the holidays?
Yeah. So, the biggest problem with the holidays is the change of the environment.
Yes.
Inside the home. So people need to consider that the home is going to be different. There might be a tree up now with lots of pretty things dangling from it that might be an attention-getting device.
Cat sparkly.
Yes. Also, the dog that I had that is no longer with us used to want to drink the water out of the tree holder, eating pine needles off the ground, things like that. So if it's a dog that you know is going to be attracted to these things, putting baby gates around the tree, hanging things up higher than maybe you normally would, poinsettias like you just said.
I like the cartoon of the
tree up high.
Christmas tree,
yes.
It's a stick.
Yes. Or I saw one recently where the tree was up, mounted on the top of the wall at the very top so that nobody could get to it. But it's kind of like pet proofing, child proofing. You have to sort of think what is going to be attractive to these animals and how you
a lot of plants are actually toxic, like poinsettias.
Poinsettias are really not good at all for animals.
Yeah.
So yes.
We had an incident where around Easter time that lilies are also really bad too.
And then the basic chocolates and any kind of candy people tend to get more of at the holidays. You obviously don't want to have those out either.
That's
so true. A lot of it is common sense, but also just knowing what your pet is attracted to.
Okay.
I have older pets now, and so nothing, they just go about their business. But the younger pets, the puppies, the kittens.
Curiosity factors, yeah.
So it's trying to just think like them and keeping things away from them that you think that they're
and also probably pay attention to which decorations you do put out, because I've known friends where the cat eats the garland.
Well, that's true.
And then it's like, oh, okay.
And some cats are attracted to certain things that others aren't. For instance, we have some clients whose cats eat plastic. We can't leave any plastic around, even the plastic wrapping on mail that comes in has to be taken off.
Wow,
the bags on the newspapers have to be thrown away. So some cats are more attracted to eating plastic. Not all, though. So
my cat
it really
used to be like that.
Yeah.
One cat used to eat the plastic, and the other cat used to eat the paper. It's like you go to the grocery store before the reusable bags were common, and it's like paper or plastic.
Neither.
I'll just take those. Yeah.
Right. So it really just depends on your animals and getting to know, what is their triggers.
Okay. What about company coming into the house? I mean, I've seen jokes about, the dog lives here, you don't, so.
Yes. Well, my biggest thing about company coming in is making sure that the dogs and cats don't get out. Okay. So to me, that's the biggest safety with holiday times, is making sure that the animals are restrained in a way, either in a separate bedroom while people are coming in, or in their crates if they're crated, or somewhere that they're going to be safe, so that when doors are opening and closing, you're not letting animals out that shouldn't be out.
True.
So that's a huge factor. And the other thing is a lot of strangers coming in. Not all dogs and cats like strange people coming into the house.
That's true. And not all strangers like dogs and
not
cats.
all strangers like dogs and cats. However, if they're your friends and family, hopefully they are people that realize that, that they live there, and so they make that choice to come and visit you. But
that makes sense.
So yeah.
Now, what about travel? I know people do a lot of traveling during the holidays, and I'm sure you like it when people travel during the holidays.
So we take care of a lot of people's pets when they go away. We do daily dog walking, but we also do a lot of vacation pet sitting.
Okay.
So when people, there's a lot of pet-friendly travel places now. When we go on a family vacation every summer down to Chatham, and I've always rented a pet-friendly house so that I can take my dogs with me. So whenever people can do that, I say great.
Okay.
But there's lots of circumstances where you can't take your pets with you.
Airlines are getting really strict too, and it's
yes.
you probably don't want to sedate your dogs, so they go with all the suitcases.
Yeah. And I've never flown with animals, so I don't have as much knowledge on flying with animals, but I do know there's a lot of pet-friendly hotels now. There's a lot of pet-friendly bed and breakfasts. So there's lots of places that you can actually take your pets with you. But if you do need to leave them home, leaving them home in their familiar environment is a great reason to hire a pet sitter to come in and take care of them, especially cats, caged animals, birds, things like that. They don't need to go anywhere. There's no reason for them to go anywhere.
But you think like a gerbil or something could go to a neighbor's house or something.
Sure.
If you cats sometimes are, creatures.
They are very much creatures of habit, and they stress very easily when they're taken out of their environment.
Yes.
So having a friendly face come in and take care of all of their needs, their, scooping and changing their litter boxes, giving them fresh water and food, playing with them, patting them, whatever it is that they like to do, as well as just having it be a lived-in look to your home.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's also like a safety issue.
It's a safety issue, yep.
Having somebody collect the mail, water
Taking
the
in
plants,
the mail,
turn the lights on and off, or whatever.
And shades, correct. So there's lots of different reasons to do it, but I really do believe cats don't need to go anywhere. They're just happiest at home, being taken care of by a pet sitter.
They're happy at home, but they always tend to seek revenge when the owners come home.
Sometimes,
as well.
sometimes it really depends.
Left me.
Yes. And there are lots of dogs that can stay at home as well with pet sitting. So there.
But dogs don't use litter boxes, so you still need to have somebody come and.
So with cats, we usually do 1 visit a day. Unless they're on medications or special foods, we've given insulin injections to cats, so they need to be seen 12 hours apart. But generally, cats are seen once a day for half an hour, and dogs need to be seen at least 3 times a day, and sometimes 4.
3 times. Oh, wow.
So we come in the morning, we take them out, feed them, water, walk them. We come back again in the middle of the day or later afternoon, whatever their schedule is, and then we come back again at bedtime and get them ready for bed.
Okay.
And
tuck them in with their little doggy blanket.
And honestly, they don't have the same time reference that we have. So in between the visits, they're usually sleeping, and then when we come in, they're happy to see us. And they don't know that it's been X number of hours that we weren't there.
Okay.
And the greatest compliment to us is when people come home from vacation and they come home to very happy and healthy pets. That's our thing, is that we want them to be happy and healthy. And when they say to us they are as happy as we left them, or the peace of mind that we give, that's what just brings us the greatest joy.
Excellent. So is there like an interviewing process? How do you find a pet sitter, and how do you find a pet sitter that you like? That somebody, if it's your first time, you don't want to leave your baby with just anybody.
I agree. So I've been in business for over 12 years. It will be 13 in March. And there has been a lot of pet sitting services that have come and gone, and but we've been very fortunate and offer really great service, and so we've had longevity. I have clients that have been with me since I started.
Wow.
Some are on the same animals.
I know you were talking to Liz before, and you're like, I've known you for years.
For years. I mean, I met her when she was a little girl.
Nine years old. Wow.
So these people become our extended family. And so finding a good pet sitter, I think you need to do your homework. So I belong to an organization called Pet Sitter International. It's been around since 1994.
Oh, okay.
And it started as an educational group for pet sitters.
Okay.
It's not only just in the whole country, but it's now in a few other countries as well.
Well, hence the international.
Exactly. And it's a great resource. I pay dues to belong to it. They have a pet sitter locator button. So if somebody calls me, they're looking for a pet sitter outside of my area, I can refer them to petsit.com, knowing that those pet sitters have the same credentials that I have.
Cool.
So it's a good reference for people. It's also a great educational site. I get a lot of, I read up on everything to do with petsing and animals, and so that I stay in the know. I passed a test through them called, it's a certified pet sitters test.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about credentials.
Yes,
it's like, what are the qualifications?
Yep.
And
so I have done that. I also used to teach pet CPR and first aid.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for about 3.5 years. Through a company called Pet Tech. I went through a 3-day training program, and I became an instructor. And I did that for about 3.5 years. And so I make sure that all of my pet sitters are certified in pet CPR and first aid.
Now, is that something like regular human CPR and first aid, where you have to get like recertified every few years?
This is actually every 2 years.
Okay.
There's like a little refresher course.
Well, that's like the regular CPR.
Yes.
Human CPR.
Yes, exactly.
Never thought I'd be saying human.
I know, human. It's similar, but it's obviously very different. I mean, it's snout versus mouth. So it's putting your mouth over the nose and the mouth. So it's called snout to mouth as opposed to mouth to mouth. But it's I
don't know if I could do that.
I think you could, though. You have animals, so you could do it. If you had an animal that was not breathing, I think you could do it. I think you could. But luckily, I've never had to do it. But the first aid part of it is great for everybody, even pet owners, to learn. So that's another a credential that I'm proud to say that we have.
Because, there is that expression where curiosity killed the cat.
Exactly,
so,
exactly.
I know our cats, like, I think they've used 7 of their 9
their
lives.
Yep,
It's
yep.
like, dude, you're killing me
yeah.
here.
Yep.
So what are some of the other credentials that are required to become a member of this international?
Petsitting International.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually not requirements to be a member of that group, but what I say, reputable pet-sitting services need to have liability insurance. And I have bonding as well. And then the pet CPR and the first aid are extra credentials that we have as well. I would say not everybody has that, but a lot of them do.
But it might be something that you might want to consider, especially like if you have an elderly animal that needs medication. You want somebody that knows the warning signs and
to be looking for. We're constantly assessing animals' health when whether we're doing daily dog walking or we're doing vacation pet sitting. We are constantly.
That's got to be hard if you don't really know the animal.
Well, it takes. Correct. So the daily dog walking, it takes us about a week. Then we get to know the personality of the pet, and then we know that if we come in and they're not acting normal, maybe something's up. Vacation pet sitting, we get a lot of information. We have our clients fill out an entire profile sheet. We have all of their vet information, their vaccinations, everything that we need to know to be able to take care of them in the best way that we can. So we know as much about them as the clients tell us about them. And so we do get to know them pretty quickly, and then they become repeat clients. And so whenever they go away, we see them again.
Because I'm just thinking, we only go away like once a year, and it's got to be a long time between, seeing some of your animals. I mean, the dog walking
is different.
If somebody's working, you
but
see
when
them every
people
day.
have cats or whatever, so we definitely have clients that we only see once or twice a year, but we always update their information every time before we go out. So we get an update on their medical history.
Is this like all computerized, or do you just have like a file that you go with?
We have a file, and it's also computer. So both. We do both. Yep. Okay.
Now, anything else you want to add about traveling before we kind of shift topics?
I mean, traveling with pets is great, but sometimes it's just not appropriate for the pet because of the type of pet that you have, or
also like the temperament. Because I'm thinking, I had got my cat when I lived in Florida, and I had to drive from Florida to Massachusetts, and the vet down there gave the cat Valium.
Yes.
We had kitty Valium that I think somebody else in the room needed.
Right. Not all pets travel great. I had a dog originally who got car sick. And my first dog, when I was married, did not like the car. If a dog doesn't like the car, it's miserable.
Cats hate the car.
They're drooling. They're nauseous. They don't feel good. It's not great for them. But my present set of dogs love the car. So, we could go on a trip and they would be fine, but it's really dependent on the animals. And cats, most of them don't like the car, but I have some clients, their cats love the car. So
because usually when you put a cat in the car, they think they're going to a particular place.
Vet. Yes, exactly. So it really just depends, again, on the animals. And the other thing I think to consider if you do take animals to a hotel, most hotels' policies are that you can't leave the animals in the room alone. So unless you're planning on sitting in the hotel room the entire time, it may not work out as well as you would think. And we've also done some pet sitting in hotels for people. So when they needed to go out, they call us and we come in.
And you come and hang out in the hotel room.
We've done that as well, yes.
Free HBO.
Yes, exactly.
Fun. Okay. Because another topic that I think would be very interesting is you always hear, I don't know whether they're urban myths or what, about families giving pets for gifts.
Yes.
Oh, Daddy, I want a puppy. Yes. Okay, and I think when they said the movie 101 Dalmatians came out, everybody got Dalmatian puppies, and then 2 months later, the shelters were filled with Dalmatian puppies.
Because they're not the best breed temperament for kids, so to speak.
They're pretty high. They're like little kids themselves.
Yeah, they're high strung. They have they can be nervous. Not all, but their temperament tends to be that way.
So forgive me. I really need the tutorial on dogs.
Yes, but that is true. I am of the mind, and again, it's only my opinion, but I am of the mind that Christmas is not the best time to bring a new animal into the house, whether it's a puppy or an older dog, because animals thrive on routine.
Right, we had already talked about it. Yeah.
And so the holidays is a very non-routine time.
Okay.
So I would much rather see somebody, tell their kids, we're going to get a puppy next week. Give them a little stuffed
gift
animal in a
certificate
box or something.
Yeah.
Or if
that's a great idea.
But bringing them in, it's just it's a stressful time.
Right.
And you want to be as prepared as possible. So in my opinion, it's better to wait until maybe even a week.
Christmas tree goes
Just let it die down,
or...
exactly, and then start your routine and bringing in a new pet.
Now, if you are introducing a new pet, if you do have plans, we're not going to be spontaneous on this. We're going to do some planning.
Yes.
What kind of planning should you do? I mean,
as far as what kind of?
As far as, I should get a dog, I should get a cat.
Right.
Maybe we should start, we have small children, maybe we should start with the guinea pig.
Right.
So it's a little easier to take care of or something.
Sure. Well, I always also say that, the grown-ups in the house have to really want the pet. All kids want to have a pet. They see cute little cuddly pets.
Really?
I want a dog. I want a cat. Right.
I'll walk it every day.
Exactly.
I'll play with it every day.
But we cannot expect children to be the caretaker, the full-time caretaker of any pet. Maybe a gerbil. I mean, I did start my kids off with little caged gerbil hamster.
Started my daughter off with a goldfish.
But. Exactly. But guess what? After a month, who's cleaning the cage?
Yeah.
Mom is cleaning the cage. And so, yes, they might be feeding it, but we're doing the maintenance.
Yeah.
So the grown-ups in the house are the ones who really need to be the ones to decide, okay, we're going to get, let's say, a dog. Okay. And then they really need to think about, their lifestyle. What kind of a family are they? Are they an active family? They want to take a dog hiking, and they want they can do some research and look up the types of dogs that love to do that. The more athletic dogs. If they are cat people, because they don't want the responsibility of
they just want a roommate
going out, but they want something furry that's going to bring some joy into their life. A little bit low maintenance less maintenance than a dog.
Less maintenance, yeah.
Less maintenance than a dog.
It also depends on the cat, because I've had some really high maintenance cats.
Yes, I agree. But in generally speaking, it really is dependent on the people that live there, what their personality is. Do they have babies in the house? Is it teenagers? Is it, what are the ages of the kids? And when they're going to bring the animal into the house, whether they get a puppy versus maybe a dog or a cat that's a few years old.
Like shelters are like, come and adopt the older animals. They're already trained. They're already mellow. They will not chew your slippers.
They're usually housebroken. There's definitely advantages to having a dog that's 2, 3, 4, 5 years old come in and join your family. Absolutely. I was at one of the shelters today dropping off some donated food, and I saw so many puppies, but I also saw some older 3- and 4-year-old dogs, and they were just as beautiful and deserving of home as well. So it really depends.
That's why I hate going to the shelters, because it's like, I'm going to come home with 40 cats.
Yeah, no.
Well, maybe not 40.
Maybe not 40, but you become the crazy cat lady. Yes. So it really, really is dependent on, doing research. And I'm a big, proponent of getting a pet from a shelter if you can, a shelter or a rescue group. I'm not against breeders at all. I also at home have a Portuguese water dog who we did get from a breeder at 8 weeks of age. But I've also had rescue dogs. Toby is a rescue dog. Even though he's a toy poodle, a purebred toy poodle, he is a rescue dog from Mississippi.
Well, let's take a tangent and talk about Toby for a little bit.
Talk about you, Toby. So Toby.
I heard my name.
I know. Toby is probably one of the cutest dogs in Burlington, I have to say. No bias. He was a rescue from Mississippi. He was found on the side of the road back 5.5 years ago, most likely hit by a car and just left. He was found by a Good Samaritan who brought him to a vet's office, and he had a shattered pelvis and his back leg was barely attached. And so he came across my computer from Good Dog Rescue, because I had been affiliated with them from a dog that we adopted from my in-laws, and I saw his little face. I already had 2 dogs at home, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to help this dog. How can you resist
that little face?
Yeah, I mean, honestly. So
he looked pretty rough, though.
He had a very rough beginning. He was a few years old and never lost his spirit. So they raised money. I donated money to his operations. They put in a metal plate. They tried to reattach his leg, but they couldn't. So they went and did a second surgery to remove his leg. Oh, wow. And now he's a 3-legged dog. And I offered to adopt him before I even told my husband I wanted to adopt him.
Probably safer to do that.
And he joined our family back in June 5.5 years ago.
Wow.
And he is one of the best additions we've had to our family. He is great, and he's kept my Portuguese water dog really going. I mean, he's over 15.
Wow.
And he's still with us.
Wow.
So he's been a great addition to our home. And after about a year of having him with me, a friend of mine was doing pet therapy.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? He has such an awesome personality. He loves everybody. My mantra with him is, his favorite person is the next person he meets. And that is the honest to God truth. He loves everybody, from babies to old people. Nothing scares him. He's quiet and calm, and he's just a joy. And I thought, we could be bringing joy to people through pet therapy.
So tell me a little bit more. What is pet therapy?
Pet therapy,
Is it just for people who have had trauma in their lives?
Well, there's an organization. It's on his leash here. It's called Caring Canines. Probably upside down, but Caring Canines is the organization, and I got introduced to that organization through a friend of mine who was a member of Caring Canines, and we were evaluated as a team, and we passed with flying colors because he's a great candidate for it.
Good job, Toby.
Yes, he did a great job.
Boy.
And we went through a little training program. We got mentored, and we did a bunch of
is it like around
visits.
here?
So it's the whole 128 belt. There's various facilities.
Oh,
so Caring Canines has hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, schools, special needs classrooms. Occasionally some companies will ask for like a special visit for their employees, so all different things. And every week they send out an email with all of the facilities that need visits, and you sign up for visits according to your own schedule. So it's all volunteers. We are considered a team, so it's Team Toby. And we primarily go to Leahy and Sunrise, because I live in Burlington, so it's easy. But I've been to many of the different facilities in Arlington and Woburn and all over in the past 5. We've been doing it for 4 years.
Wow. Now with the therapy dogs, do you always have to go to the same clients all the time?
So
is that helpful? I mean, I would think that for continuity's sake.
Well, so a lot of it, the group visits are in the nursing homes and the assisted living facilities. So they'll bring the residents to a community room, and there'll be maybe 3 or 4 teams of us that sign up for the same visit. And we go in with our dogs, and they get introduced, and then we go around to each person. I have a little stool I sit on because he's a little lap dog. I have a little pillow, and I put him on people's laps. Some of them are Alzheimer's patients, so there's sometimes not as much communication, but pets just bring out the best in people, and we get so many smiles, and they love it, and he loves it, and I love watching him love it. So it's a win-win for us.
Well, he gets all this extra attention.
He gets attention. He gets to go in the car. When I say the word visiting, when we're going visiting, then he knows what visiting is, right?
I love those ears.
He does. He knows when we're going visiting. He thinks we're visiting today. I know. So and when we do hospital visits, we do individual bed visits. So when we go to Leahy, him and I, we are assigned a floor, and the nurses station gives me a list of those that they have asked who wants a pet therapy visit. In the morning they ask, and then we have a list of rooms, and we go room to room. And we chat with the people, and I put him right on the bed, and it just brings them so much joy in their convalescing.
Now, how long is like this visit?
So I'm there about 45 minutes, so I try to gauge depending on how many visits they have for me. So if there's 5 patients, I can spend a little longer. If I have 15, I have to kind of cut it short. And and just spend a few minutes with each person. But it's great. A lot of them have pets at home that they're missing while they're in the hospital. They're trying to get home to see their pets. And the people that live in these other places, the assisted livings and the nursing homes, they don't have any pets anymore, but a lot of them have had pets in the past. So it just brings them joy to be able to. It's like a visitor.
Sometimes you hear these sad stories about people never having company.
Exactly, and they love it. So I enjoy it. I go at least once a week to a facility, whether it's Leahy or Sunrise or another facility.
Now, just wondering about the therapy visits, and especially when you mentioned the hospital, it's like, what kind of measures or compensations for allergies
Right.
Even if you're going to visit someone who doesn't have any allergies, just sometimes being in the same room, seeing in the same building, just after the dog leaves. I mean, what kind of protections?
That's interesting. So the only people that come to the visits, that come to the community rooms, let's say, are people that don't have allergies. So the staff knows who can come. Toby doesn't shed because he's a poodle. He gets groomed. So we don't leave any hair behind no matter where we go. In the hospitals, only the people that aren't allergic are going to say to the nurses, yes, I'll have a visit. I've had people say, no, I don't come in here. You know, we can't. I'm allergic. But we're in generally public spaces. So, you know, it's more about, okay, if you're allergic, you're just not going to pat the dogs. You know.
Because I know, you know, sometimes people are really sensitive, and it's like
I have not come across
either an awareness sensitivity, like, oh no, you can't come in here, there might be somebody allergic, or
yeah, anytime that there's anything like that, obviously we don't go and visit those people, or they don't come to the community room that we are and visit. And in the schools, same thing, the special needs classrooms, the teachers know if there's any children that can't be around animals, and they might take them out during the time that we're there.
Now with the schools, is there any different not behaviors, but like schedule wise, you know, do you still go to the same classrooms all the time?
Yes,
Is there more focus on continuity with the students?
They know that, for instance, there's some schools that we see we're there every Friday at 10:30. So the schedules are set up by Caring Canines, and then we sign up for visits according to the contracted schedule. So there's a school in Arlington that I know that two special needs classrooms have a visitor every Friday at 10:30.
Which may or may not be Toby.
Correct. I sign up for what works for us and my schedule, and there's about 100 of us teams.
Oh, wow.
So there's enough of us to fill all of the need that's out there. And we're all in different areas, so.
Perfect. He's looking at me going,
I know.
You said we were going to go visit.
Yeah,
Mama.
I know. I know. I tricked you.
You just enhanced. So, all right, let's back up a little bit.
Sure.
Or is there anything else you want to add about Toby or the pet therapies?
You know,
how would somebody go about, like, if it was a school or a classroom, could it be set up by the teacher? Would it be set up by the school system, by the principal? How do you?
Right. So Caring Canines right now is pretty full on the facilities and schools that they can service. So I don't believe they're taking in any more facilities. But I personally have done some special visits for people in town. I was contacted by a client of mine who had a neighbor who was on hospice, and she was a big dog lover. And she asked me if I would just make a special house call with Toby. And I did that because I would never say no to that. And I went with him to her house. At Francis Wyman School, I went once and did a presentation with him.
Fun.
And that was great. And so anytime that anybody reaches out to me for something special, I will do it aside from Caring Canines, just on my own. I don't, say that I'm with Caring Canines when I'm doing it. He wears a little tag that says he's a registered pet therapy dog, but
but I was wondering, yes, he is an amazing temperament, but is there like a class that he has to go to, or that the two of you have to go to as a team to be qualified?
Right. So I would say, 80% of it is personality of the dog. They can't be barkers. They can't, certain things.
And I understand that. So.
Right. But the majority, a lot of it is learning sort of how to visit with people. And that's what we learned in those 10 visits that we went to at the beginning. We had mentor visits, and then we continued in these group visits before we could go on to individual visits. So there was a little bit of a training process.
Because I'm just thinking, some of the people that I know have like a service dog, but the dog is just like a little lap dog to keep them from stressing.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I know that there are requirements to become a service dog.
Well, this is the thing. So,
how do we
There's
differentiate?
a so it's been taken advantage of recently, as you've probably heard. There's a lot of now service dogs that, and I'm not saying people don't need them. Absolutely, people need them. But then there are people that are also just trying to get their dogs into certain places, in public places, that normally dogs wouldn't be allowed to go into restaurants or on a plane sitting on your lap, things like that. And so that's been taken a little bit of advantage of. So now I believe there is more credentialing that needs to happen now for more of service type dogs. He's strictly a pet therapy dog. He is in no way, I don't get special privileges to take him into any place. We are strictly a team of pet therapists. So it's very different.
Well, let's try, for the uneducated, I'm just trying to figure out, what is the difference?
There's totally a difference, right? Because the service dogs have to go through very specialized training to be service dogs. And he's not a service dog, he's a pet therapy dog. So we provide pet therapy as a team together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to, getting a pet. And we talked a little bit about getting a shelter pet versus a purebred versus. What about like foster situations?
Yeah, so
I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so over the years, it used to just be shelters.
Yeah, you get to go and you get to say, I like this cat or this dog. It's got a great personality. Let's take it out and play.
And there's still shelters. But there's a lot of dogs now that aren't in shelters. They're in home environments. So there are foster families. So people join up with an organization, and there's tons of them across the country, and they align themselves with a group, one of the foster groups, and they become a foster home. And so basically when a dog comes into a rescue group, instead there are a lot of rescue groups that don't have physical shelters, buildings, and they go right into home settings. So then that foster mom or dad gets the dog ready for adoption. And they're living in a home now. There may be other animals in the house that they're acclimating to. There may be children in the house. And so it's a way for them to assess their temperament, see what kind of a pet they will make for somebody, and they're available for adoption, but they're living in a home while they're waiting for a home, a permanent home.
Now, how would someone looking to adopt a pet
find those?
Approach a foster situation? Because like when you go in the shelter, you have a row of dogs and you can see,
there's a great organization called Pet Finder. Pet Finder, I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I have heard of it.
Okay, so they're on.
Never taken advantage of it.
But. They're on online, and all of the shelters and all of the rescue groups all have their dogs listed on Pet Finder. It's a great warehouse or clearinghouse for all these dogs and cats that are looking, and other animals too. There's rabbits on there, there's birds, there's all kinds of animals. So that's the best way to find a pet from a rescue group and a shelter. That's the best way to do it, is to go to Pet Finder.
Now, with a foster situation, is there still the opportunity to meet the animal before you make a decision?
Yeah, I think so. So he came from a rescue group called Good Dog Rescue down in Mississippi, and I didn't
2,000 miles away.
Right. I didn't get to meet him. Came up on a transport. It took a couple of days with a whole bunch of animals, and he came up to New Hampshire, and we went to a park and ride where all these families were waiting for the dogs that they had adopted. But if it's a local rescue, then they have the animals in these people's homes, and so then families can go and meet the dog. For me, it was like adopt. I only saw pictures and videos and things like that, but I
saw videos.
I saw videos. Yes. But I just, it was definitely a little bit like, is this going to work? I had two other dogs that he had never met. Is this going to work? And I was determined that no matter what, it was going to work. I was going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. And I make provisions to make sure that it would work. So, and luckily it did. I mean, I'm not saying it always does, but it did work for us. So
now, as you're talking about this, I'm just kind of thinking of a different scenario. Like my brother and sister-in-law adopted an animal that, well, maybe not. But anyway, I've heard of stories about people adopting animals from hurricane relief.
Yes.
So if an animal is found at a location that had been impacted by some kind of natural disaster, they come up. What happens if the owner eventually
that's a
goes
good question.
looking for
You know, I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's a good question. I think what happens is those animals that they find in these disasters first end up in a shelter close by.
Okay.
So maybe in another part, let's say Texas, maybe in another part of Texas that wasn't hit by a disaster. They're there for a certain amount of time to see if anybody comes forward to claim their animals. But there's a certain amount of time that they have until an animal then becomes surrendered. And I don't know if anybody's ever been able to track back and say, oh, you know, a year later, my pet is now up in Massachusetts or whatever, you know. So I don't know that that's ever happened, but it is a good question. And I do think they keep them locally for a while. And then...
And I think even in shelters, when they find a stray, it stays at like animal control for 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah, there's like a quarantine period, and then they have to make sure that they are given their shots and so forth.
Most shelters provide that, though, don't they?
They do.
Most?
They do, and then once they're adopting out, they will spay and neuter before they will allow them to be adopted.
Okay. And now I think there's actually a form that you have to sign saying that you will get them spayed, you will get them neutered.
Yes.
And even now, I think for a lot of animals, maybe not dogs, but for cats, you need to make the cat an indoor cat.
Yes, yes. It's just not as safe, at least in New England, for cats to be outside because we have so many temperature reasons for all of the harsh winters and the very hot summers. We have all these coyotes and all these other wild animals that are looking for
lunch
meals, and so it's just not as safe, or those animals
don't. A lot of diseases tend, you know, like feline FIV.
Yes, there's a lot of reasons why I think it's better to keep cats indoors.
But what would you say to somebody that says, oh, but my cat just loves being outdoors?
Loves to be outside. You know, it's really a hard decision, I think, for some people. Some people, they just know their cat just wants to be outside. I mean, some cats, they've never seen the outdoors, they don't want to see the outdoors, and they're fine. But there are other cats, they are just want to be outside kind of cats. And I think those owners have to make a decision. Okay, you know, I'm going to let my cat out, knowing that there might be a day that the cat doesn't come back, which is really sad. But sometimes you can't keep a cat in, especially if they were used to being outside. It's hard to break them of that.
But as like a kitten, you know, sometimes it's... That's got to be hard.
It's hard. It's a hard decision, and I'm not saying one way is right over the other. I think it's safer for cats to stay indoor cats and give them a lot of exercise, entertainment, things to keep their minds, like hunting games and things like that, to keep them stimulated so that they don't want to be outside doing.
We were also talking earlier about poinsettias and lilies and plants, and it's like you let your cat out, you don't know what they're going to eat.
You don't know what they're going to eat, right. That's true. That's true.
You know, and now they were, you know, the whole food chain thing is people were talking about don't use pesticides because, yes, you'll kill the grass, but the bunnies who eat the grass and then the hawks who eat the bunnies, and it's just, you know.
It's a cycle, absolutely.
It's a cycle.
Absolutely.
You know, so many birds of prey have been affected by rat poison.
I know, I've been hearing about that too.
So that seems to be on the rise, and it's like, okay guys, let's so that's another reason why, you know, your cat goes out there, you don't know what's...
You don't know, and you don't know that the mouse they catch didn't already ingest something and now it's in them, so that's true. That's true.
You know, rabid animals, you know, I don't think we've had any around here.
No.
I don't know. But
right. No, I haven't heard too much of that either, but there's always that risk.
It's a scary world out there.
It is, and it's definitely a risk. You have to weigh, you know, the risks about letting an animal be outside versus keeping them inside a cat. Yeah.
So one of the other, you know, back to adopting animals.
Yes.
How do you prepare your family? I mean, you know, we talked about, you know, your 8-year-old begging you for a puppy. Well, what about like older kids or younger kids, or, you know, how do you prepare?
Sure.
So maybe they will feed the dog more than the first week.
So the most important thing is setting up a schedule and a routine. Animals are so thrive on routine. And so setting that up early, I think just brings you to the point of where kids can be involved in pet care. So absolutely, I think kids, as young as people think their kids can do, could be involved in the care of an animal. It could be as simple as just filling their water bowl. Maybe that's, you know, that child's job. Every day they need to fill the water. Or maybe, you know, an older child, okay, every day when you come home from school, you're the one to take the dog for a walk that particular time. But again, I think
or brush the cat.
Or brushing. It could be small jobs for little kids, you know. But again, the grown-ups still have to be on top because, you know, kids do lose interest. The novelty does wear off, and then it just becomes a chore.
And even not even taking care of them, because I'm thinking, okay, my cats predated my kids. And it's like, how do you train the kid not to pull
treat them properly,
not to pull the puppy's ears,
or just, you know what, it takes a lot of
pet the fur
education
backwards or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot of educating and modeling good behavior, and with a 1.5-year-old, you know, holding their hand and saying, this is how nice doggy, and this is how we treat animals, and exposing them to animals so that they grow up loving animals. My kids all grow up with animals. They love animals. They all want to have animals when they are
my daughter has already decided she wants to be the crazy cat lady, because she wants, you know, I'm going to get this huge house, and I'm going to have 7 dogs, and you know.
But it's modeling that behavior and showing them that these are members of our family. That's a huge part of it for me, anyways. Is teaching people that. You know, these are family members. You're not going to give your child away. You're not going to give your dog away, you know. So, yeah, they're family members. They need to be taken care of. You know, they rely on us for everything. They can't go into the cupboard and get food when they're hungry.
I don't know. Some cats, you know.
Some of them can. Yes, some of them are smart. But you know what I'm saying. They need a schedule. They need to know what to expect.
They need a human.
They need humans to take care of them, and if the kids can be involved and that be part of their chores, absolutely, I'm all for it, you know.
Now, what are some of the resources that are available? I mean, we talked about, you know, don't give the puppy at Christmas time, and the Dalmatian puppies that were all surrendered. What resources are available to a family that has a new animal before they want to give it, you know, if they're like, oh, we're going to give up, we're going to surrender. What are some, like a contingency plan?
Right. So what I'm finding nowadays is one of the things that people aren't spending time and money on is training. I'm seeing in my business a lot of people are missing that component. They've kind of forgotten that, you know, dogs need to learn how to behave. They don't just come to the home and know how to behave. And so I'm constantly referring people to trainers when they are having an issue. They will use me as a resource. I have a lot of relationships with vets, with groomers, with trainers. And so anytime anybody's having a problem, I love to help people in that respect. So we have had situations where people have tried everything on their own, and I might come up with an idea and say, you know what, have you tried X, Y, and Z? There's a lot of information now out on the internet, so it's a lot easier to find resources. But I say, you know, unless it's a situation where, for instance, I had a friend who got in touch with me because she had a dear friend pass away, and she didn't have any family, and she had 2 small dogs. And she was distraught. What was she going to do about her friend's dogs? She had a dog of her own. She couldn't bring in another dog. And I was able to, I have a network of people that I know in the dog world now. I was able to send this woman that I know who does a lot of dog rescue and placement. I was able to send her information on these 2 dogs. They needed to stay together. They were older. They were like 8 and 10. Small dogs, but they had been bonded. They'd been together since puppies. And I sent this information to this woman. She posted it on her Facebook page, and we found a home for them. Social media is huge.
Powerful.
And it was wonderful to be able to do that. And we kept those dogs together. So there's definitely resources out there before you completely give up on an animal. And a lot of it is behavior issues, is the reason why people give up pets. And again, bringing in a trainer, I have some resources of trainers that will come to the home and work with you in the home and train the people.
Now, do you do any training?
I don't do training. I do basic, you know, training, but we do not do training. That's another whole specialty that we don't do.
Now, would someone also come to you for advice about choosing a vet?
Yes, I get that all the time.
And
so
what are some of the things that you need to consider when choosing a vet?
So I have relationships with a couple of the vets in town, and I'm happy to refer. I always give out both names of the vets that are in town. If somebody lives we service Burlington and the 5 towns that surround Burlington. So if somebody lives in Billerica and they want a vet, I'll always tell them of the vets that we use here, but I'll say there's also a good vet at this facility. And just through doing this for so long, I know of the vets that I would recommend. And the same thing with groomers. And the same thing with some animals are not candidates for staying home. So we could talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I've like totally lost track of where
that's
we are on the
okay.
cheat
That's
sheet,
okay.
So let's just chat.
We love to take care of pets in people's homes, but there are definitely pets that are not candidates to stay home. And I'll get into who those pets are in a minute. When that's the case, I have a relationship with a kennel that's run by a husband and wife in Bedford that I refer people to. There are certain kennels I would never refer anybody to, and I will always refer people. And people are free to choose whoever they want to, but I have my sort of go-to people for all different things that I give out as resources. So who shouldn't stay home? There are dogs that have separation anxiety. They are not good candidates for staying at home. It stresses the dog out. They may destroy your home. They have some issues that are way bigger than their ability to be at home. And so those are the dogs that either somebody needs to sleep in the home with them, stay in the home, or they should go maybe to a reputable
Now, when a dog goes to a kennel, I'm a cat person. I'm not familiar with this. Does the dog stay in like the crate the entire time?
No, so every kennel experience is completely different. Some of them are boarding and doggy daycare facilities. So the dogs that are there boarding sleep there at night, but they're out in the daytime with the doggy daycare dogs running around. So the kennel that I know of is they have 4 or 5 hour, I think it's 4-hour sessions that they are outside running around. So they'll run around they'll eat breakfast, they're outside for an hour playing or whatever, then they're in their crate for a couple of hours, resting, napping. Dogs need to sleep. They sleep a lot, dogs. I mean, they get out all their energy and then they
just cats
need to no, dogs definitely need their downtime too. Then they go out for another hour, they do all their running and playing, and then they rest again. And at night, depending again on the kennel, if it's a cageless versus a cage type of crate. There are some cageless places. There's really lots of options out there for people now. Again, it's finding a place that you're comfortable with and knowing what your dog can tolerate. Some dogs really like their crates. They feel safe in the crate. At night when they're ready to go to sleep, they're out. They go to sleep.
Now, speaking of doggy daycares, do dogs have to pass like an entrance exam? Because I'm like, cats do not play well with each other at all.
They definitely do. And
then you see pictures of the dogs riding the school bus over to doggy daycare, and I'm like,
there is another option is doggy daycare, but again, not all dogs are candidates for doggy daycare. There are dogs that don't like dogs. There are dogs that don't get along with dogs. There are dogs that have been kicked out of daycares because they don't exhibit good doggy behavior. They don't know how to socialize. So if a dog hasn't been socialized properly as a puppy, they don't know how to greet a dog. And so when they charge at a dog, another dog takes that as attack. And so those are dogs that are not appropriate. It does not work. So not all dogs can go to doggy daycare, and that's why there are dog walkers. So that's why the business I have a lot of times is for dogs that are older, puppies that are still learning. And you don't really want to be exposing them to all kinds of dogs with other behaviors and illnesses and things that
I was about to say, when you send your kid to daycare,
it's the same kind of thing. Exactly.
So didn't realize that.
And there are people that, their dogs are happy at home, but they need that break. They need to go out for half an hour. They need to go to the bathroom. They need that socialization. They need to stretch their legs and get some exercise, but then they're good for another 4 hours till the people come home. So not all dogs need, but there's your very high energy dogs, the labs who can run all day, and they're the dogs that may benefit from doggy daycare, but it's really dependent on the dog.
Oh.
And it's nice that there's lots of options. There's doggy daycares, there's pet sitters, there's dog walkers, there's good
and
options.
And you kind of figure out as you go along, oh, well, I think my dog would do well with a pet sitter, and then that doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like a trial thing, knowing how it's going to work. It's a trial thing. We have had situations where we have done pet sitting for the first time for somebody, and sometimes it'll be the best thing that's changed their life. They can now travel, and their dogs are well taken care of at home, and they are just complete peace of mind, and they go off and enjoy themselves. And other times, we will say, you know what? He was really nervous, and maybe they need more visits a day, or maybe they need a different type of a situation when you go away. So we're very honest about that because we want them to be happy and healthy, bottom line.
Well, obviously you have to be a pet lover in order to be in this line of work.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, have you ever encountered, I think the reason why I'm a cat, one of the reasons why I'm a cat person is I was traumatized as a child having been attacked by a dog.
Okay.
Have you ever encountered a situation where you don't feel safe with a particular pet? And what do you do about that?
So when we first take on a new client, we go out, as you know, and do a pet consult. The pet consult consists of us coming into the home, meeting the person, meeting their animals, filling out all the necessary paperwork that's involved with becoming a client, learning the layout of where everything is kept that's related to the pets in the home, getting a lay of the land of the backyard, the neighborhood, so gathering information. And and it's only happened a couple of times that we have gone on a pet consult and we have had to tell the person, this dog is not a candidate for somebody coming into the home. The dogs have to be friendly enough that we can enter the home and we don't get attacked. And so we will stick it out and work with a family for as long as we feel that we can. If it's a situation where we're not sure, we think we can do it. And sometimes we can win them over and it works. But there have been a couple of times in the 12 and a half years I've been in business that we have had situations where we've had to say, he's just not a candidate for a stranger or somebody he doesn't know too well yet coming into the home. They're protecting their home. They're not a bad dog. They're protecting their territory.
My little 6-pound Siamese cat is, she's a guard cat.
Well, we could talk about attack cats if you want. We definitely have those as well, but we can manage those because we don't have to leash up a cat. We don't have to physically touch a cat if they're that kind of a cat. We can still take care of their needs. We have a little trick. We bring an umbrella. If we have a cat that is less than pleased that we're there and wants to attack us, we will open an umbrella and we will hold it while we're cleaning a litter box, so it keeps between us and the cat. It's a shield.
Sorry,
we have
Toby,
done that. We come up with all kinds of little tricks to be able to still take care of a cat that is less than pleased with a stranger. Or anybody other than their family, I should say, coming in.
Because I have a feeling my cats would be those.
And you know what?
Or they were, 10, 15 years ago.
Right, and they mellow as they get older. But no, and we will do everything we can to still be able to take care of an animal. Such as a cat that may not like anybody who's stepping into their territory.
Because I'm thinking, even on the consult, when you first meet the animal, they're perfectly fine because
the owners are there. Right, exactly.
And then you show up, and the person's gone on a 2-week vacation, and you're like, oh my, this cat does not want me within.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, we would never abandon ship. We will always take care of them, but we do have in our service agreement that if at any point an animal is unsafe for us to take care of them, then we have to transport them to a facility. And they sign off on that because we never.
I'm sure I signed off on it, but I just don't remember because I'm like, no.
But we've never, with a cat, we can get around it. We have been able to shut the door if a cat is in a room, and we will just close the door. We will go about the house and do the things that need to be done.
Open the
door. And then we will open the door and we will leave. So we're very creative. We will come up with ways to.
I like the umbrella trick, though.
The umbrella was early on, and it worked in a couple of hairy situations. No pun intended. So.
I get it. But you know what? We are out of time.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So anyway, I want to thank you, Toby. I'm sorry that you didn't get to go on a visit. But you did get to visit me, and I appreciate that.
And it's like past his bedtime, but he's still happy to be here because he's on my lap. So he's...
Well, thank you, Wendy. I really enjoyed our conversation.
It was great, thank you.
And I'm looking forward to the holidays. I'm looking forward to hanging out with my pets at home.
Yes.
I'm not quite ready to get another pet right now, but thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in this evening. I hope you found our conversation as entertaining as I have. Have a wonderful holiday season, and I will see you around town. Good night.